Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So we're on the way to the farm, but I just got a download I wanted to share with you that is just another illustration, a way to explain some things that might make more sense to you. So when people often ask, how did you do that? How did you well up the courage or whatever? Because I've been through a few things that were really scary. I thought I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to survive, etc. Multiple things, life events, just regular old life events and some pretty scary stuff. Just like everybody else, or at least a bunch of somebody else. I'm not the only one. However, people do ask, how did you come to some place of just knowing? And what came to me today is that when you're answering the divine blueprint that you were installed with and coded with and gifted, as a divine being coming into an avatar, you already have a blueprint. We all do. We all have the cosmic blueprint, and whatever that is, it wasn't meant for suffering. It wasn't meant for this game that we're playing. It wasn't meant to be bound up energetically or physically, financially, sexually, emotionally, on any level. There's no level where we are bound up, and we call that sovereignty. And so when we answer the actual divine blueprint, we're doing what our soul's calling is. It's much easier to stand in the confidence, because I was going through things in my life that I was questioning, like, I have no idea how I'm doing this every morning, because this is just awful. It's really 1:44. This is crazy. What in the world? And yet I would just know deep in my soul that even though this is painful, even though I'm not sure that I'm physically going to survive this, even though I don't know how I'm going to financially make this, even though, I don't have a home, even though I don't have food, even though I don't have a lot of whatever, I had a whole lot less of what I thought I needed than what I actually needed. And what it drew me down into understanding at a core level is that when we are knocked down so many times and we finally have nothing left to do except investigate that divine blueprint, the divine blueprint unveiled itself to me in every little step of courage and possibility by allowing myself to rest with that of, okay, I have to surrender. I'm physically exhausted. I can't get up off the floor and crawl over there and do anything about this. I'm physically exhausted. Well, I was spiritually exhausted as well. And those surrender points, that's where courage is built. The surrender to say, okay, I have to let this go. I physically cannot move. I financially have no more options. I emotionally am being cut off, or, I emotionally need to cut off. Whatever all those steps are, every time we answer those knowings, we're growing the courage and the awareness, the understanding, the healing, and the level up to answer that divine blueprint. We're removing a little smudge on the window that's covering our divine blueprint. However, once we see into that and we pop the glass on that and get in there and start operating from within that divine matrix, it's a sloppy process and it takes some time. Very few of us get through our spiritual journeys and have some one great awakening and then we're just done. That's not really the process. It wouldn't really make sense if it were. We have to earn every level of the Mario game, as it were. We have to earn every place that we are, not in a punitive place of punishment for not doing it. It's just that you wouldn't expect to be an Olympic athlete without spending a whole lot of time in your craft. And what happens though is we have a lot of people in their earthcraft that has nothing to do with their divine blueprint. It has to do with the blueprint they created and they operated out of, that was manipulated, managed, and installed in them by parenting, financial systems, educational systems, religious systems. It doesn't matter. All the systems you see on the planet, the old age of Pisces, all under a system of codependency and power differentials. And the age of Aquarius, we're about operating from the divine blueprint, which that gives me courage all day long, because I have no idea where this is going to come from. However, I know that I'm tapped into that. And so when we reach into that, we deeply know. It may not happen on every topic. However, when we do and we go with that, we are nourishing that blueprint. We're helping it glow. We're helping give that timeline that it supports, the best supporting timeline that it supports. It gives that some juice. It emphasizes it. It gives a little turbocharge from our heart. And that is how we know and grow. Because all of us just waking up one day and, I'm operating in my divine blueprint. I can almost assuredly say, anybody who's announcing to me that where they are in their spiritual guru status, I'm more than likely going to just not tell them they're not experiencing that. Know and understand that there's well beyond, just the I'm this, I'm that. When we're still talking in labels, we're still answering to some part of a blueprint somewhere that somebody told us was the right word to say about how we can identify ourselves today. And I'm looking to be in experiential life, not in labeling life. Sit down somewhere and be labeled. The divine blueprint allows for that kind of latitude. It allows for me to understand the flow through of resources, to not be locked down, terrorized about finances, or terrorized about, am I going to be able to control this situation? What happens if? What happens if is when you're in the divine matrix, oh, I'm an operational wizard. I'm all matrixy, qualified here. I've done this, I know this, and I know how to get in here and work with this. I'm working in my divine blueprint to handle up on what I'm having to do to work within the constructs of the matrix, the old matrix. I'm in my divine matrix, helping to dismantle, disrupt, and disempower that old matrix by building up the new one. Every single time somebody answers their divine blueprint, you are emphasizing and charging it up for everybody else. Every single person that stands in their Empress energy or their Emperor energy, the composite complete divine masculine, divine feminine, we are in that composite complete Christed energy of that binding, that integration of divine feminine and divine masculine, and we can answer to that divine blueprint. We giddy up, we get on the horse and we ride, because we already know how to ride. We may not know what happens on the ride. We may not know, if we're going to come back with the same horse, or we're coming back with a rhino, or we're going to be coming back never, because we ride out understanding that I'm down for the experience of this, and whatever the experience is, because I'm in the divine matrix and my divine blueprint, it's a glorious and sacred experience no matter what it is. Even if I think it's not, the greatest, that's on me to get it to a sacred space of understanding it, kiss it on the forehead, on the third eye, and say, good luck on wherever you go next and whatever you do. If it's not meant to be here with me, that's fine. However, closing it out with sacred reverence of what it was, that's a no thank you. Thank you very much. No thank you. That's divine matrix. When we're in the old matrix, we're answering lots of questions. We're returning phone calls to argue. We're taking, pay cuts. We're taking hour cuts. We're exchanging really intimate things to get something from the other side. We're trading away parts of our soul. We're trading away parts of our divine matrix. Every time that we answer to the old one, we're turning away from the one that's truly inside of us, that's lighting up and saying, this bothers you for a reason, because it's going against what you inherently know and understand cosmically. You're answering to an earth grid that is deteriorating, and I'd love it if you join me in understanding that it's time for an upgrade. We're going into the divine matrix and the divine blueprint, and you're one of those, if you are, who's really going to need to understand that, so that you can come back into this old system and help to deconstruct it, and help people that are coming out of that trauma, drama, and all of the hysteria of it and the pain of it, help them walk across the bridge of understanding that your divine matrix is not meant to be painful. And so, though it is painful to exit it, the old matrix, to get into the new, your divine matrix is not meant to be a life of survival and barely getting by. It's meant to be a lived experience where you live, breathe, and have your being as an entire human being. However, you're not meant to suffer in the midst of all of that. A suffering process is often necessary for us to understand how to narrow down our preferences. However, it's not required. We do not have to do battle just because we live in a polarized environment, just because we live in the age of Pisces that we're coming out of. We're here to change that. We're here to see the change, be the change, right? And free the change in people's minds. It's okay. Give people permission to step away. Give people permission to have their life without you if it doesn't serve you. If they're not part of your divine matrix, you won't even know if you're not trying to activate it. And we end up wasting time building into the old matrix with materials that are degrading faster than we can rebuild them. The old system has no relevant frequency that it can maintain on its own. That's why it's crumbling down everywhere. And so resurrecting means that we come in here and we do the inventory and we look around and we see, okay, this is the divine matrix of me, and answer those questions very carefully and very mindfully and very tenderly for yourself. And when we really are good at that, we won't have any trouble reaching out into the world and dealing with other people, even if they are matrixians and a pain in the ass. There's a nicer, kinder way to deal with them. However, you still don't have to play with them. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you in some way, and I hope that you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in. And remember to get within your skin, because you're divine. It's absolutely gorgeous. Your divine blueprint, absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, and it's just fine. It's there for you to pull yourself into line if you'd like to. People that want to stay more in line with Earth operations, they're allowed to. However, if that's what they want to do and it's not what you want to do, you might want to answer the activation of that divine blueprint that's calling you. And so I wish you well as you do. 1144. Go do you, beautiful you. Take care, and I'll see you again next time, friends. Mwah. Bye.